Everybody loves a great vacation, especially if it is a cruise, but cruises can be very expensive. So how do you plan your vacations so you can save some money and not spend a lot? And these are my tips of how to cruise on a budget. Hi, welcome to my channel Happy Lady 101. My name is Veronica. I love traveling, I love cruising, and it is my passion, so I talk about it all the time on my channel. So please support my channel by liking this video, subscribing, leaving comments and questions below. Let's get started. The very first tip is to plan your trip early, especially cruises. Most of my cruises I book 2 years in advance. This gives me a lot of options. I always shop for different deals when they're offering you 70% off the second passenger, or they can offer you free airfare as a bundle with your cruise. So the deals are always there, so you should look for them. And I started looking for mine very early on to make sure that not only I reserve my spot, but also it gives me plenty of time to plan ahead, save up some money, and to give me the best options as far as excursions, the flights, and how to plan my trip better. Most of the cruises I take is with Norwegian Cruise Line, and they do offer different discounts as far as airfare if you're bundling it with your cruise. For example, I went on a cruise to Alaska last fall with my children, and I booked that cruise 2 years in advance. So not only I got the bundle with air and paid pretty much half of the price of the airfare I would be booking on my own. It was a direct flight. There were no delays, no problems. I was able to check in the bags, and they took care of my bags when I arrived. They were able to transport the bags right to the cruise ship to your cabin. So it was a great deal. And to give you an idea, I was flying from Baltimore to Seattle with 2 children, and my flights were in the range of $500 a person. Yes, they tell you that the second person flies for free, but I had 3 people, and a lot of times, even if the second person is free, they will bundle additional money into that first person's airfare, so you will be paying a little bit extra for the first person. But overall, if you split up the airfare price among the 3 or 2 people, you will see that the price is decent and it's worthwhile to get a bundle. Another example is I recently booked a cruise to Asia, to Japan, and that is going to be 2 years from now, and I booked it with flights. So Asian flights can be rather expensive, so if I was booking that flight myself, it would cost me much more than $2,000 or $3,000 for 2 people. But because I bundle it with the cruise, it was $3,000 for 2 people. So it was very reasonable, and it was actually worthwhile. The other thing that is beneficial when booking early is you can pay installments to the cruise line without any interest. So if it is 2 years in advance and you split up the payment in those 24 months, this can also be beneficial to you because then you can pay those installments that is planned and budgeted for the next 2 years, and then everything will be paid off in time. The other budget-friendly tip is get a cruise from the port where you can drive to. This way you don't have to purchase airfare. It might be much cheaper for you to get to the port that is only 1 or 2 hour drive, and this way you can definitely save money. For those of you who live up north, maybe it's northeast or northwest Canada, it's probably hard to drive to the cruise port. So it will save you a lot of time and at sea time if you're actually flying to the port down south, like in Miami. And of course, if you're taking international cruises. It will not be the cheapest option, but it's going to be the time-saving option. The other thing that can save you money is try to find a port that is less popular or it doesn't have a lot of cruises coming out of, and usually those cruises will be cheaper as well. When you're booking a cruise, and if you want to save money, it is usually less expensive to book a cruise in the off-peak, off-season months or shoulder months. If you want to get a cruise to the Caribbean or European cruise, these are usually the months when kids are in school and families are not traveling. This is your best bet to get a cheaper cruise or the cruise that will be less expensive and more affordable. I'm gonna give you an example here of the cruise that I booked last year and actually had to cancel because I booked it between Christmas and New Year's. That week, that last week of the year, is usually extremely popular for vacations and cruises for kids. So a lot of times, maybe the cruise is not going to be expensive, but the airfare is going to be absolutely outrageous. And I'll give you an example of that. Although the cruise fare was kind of the same as if I was booking in other months or maybe in the springtime. And then I decided to just book it, reserve it, and get airfare later. So when I went to book the airfare or find the airfare prices, because I did not bundle it with my cruise, initially when I was pricing it out, the airfare was extremely expensive, and I thought to myself, well, I'm not really flying that far, because from Baltimore to San Juan, Puerto Rico, it's only a couple of hour flight, so it is not that far. So I'm gonna just book the airfare much later. So when I tried to do that, believe it or not, that flight will cost me usually on average about $500 round trip per person if I was flying any other month but those holiday season months. And during the time of me looking for the actual flight so I could purchase it and go ahead with my cruise, the flight was over $3,000 per person round trip. So it's a huge difference between $500 round trip that would be good for any other month of the year to paying over $3,000 per person and flying to that port where the cruise begins. So I had to cancel the cruise because otherwise it would cost me as much as the cruise itself just to get that airfare piece. So instead, I rebooked it for March when kids are in school. I will take them out of school to go on the cruise, but it will give me reasonable prices for the airfare tickets. If you're not comfortable booking this much in advance, like myself, that is 2 years in advance for a cruise, although I only pay a small deposit, anywhere between $250 to $500 for a cruise to put down, and then the rest you pay 4 months before the cruise, you can always go to the option of booking something last minute. So for the last minute cruises, you really cannot be too picky, but still it is a great option and it's very budget friendly, because if you're booking a cruise maybe 3 or 4 months in advance, you will have all kinds of deals available, or sometimes you might not have the deal. If you're booking a cruise in advance and going through either a travel agent or maybe through the cruise line agent, they usually will give you that option of checking the cruise prices over a period of time. So if you purchased a cruise and maybe you will go back and check on it and reprice it 6 months or a year in advance, a lot of times you might get an option of saving money, especially when they're running special promotions. And actually the cruise line will grant you that money back. So you can call the cruise line and tell them that you're pricing the cruise online and you're seeing the price is much cheaper than when you booked it, and they will grant you usually that discount. For me personally, I tried that many times because I'm using a cruise agent who helps me book my cruises and look for those promotions, maybe additional perks, as well as giving me discounts and any money back if the money is owed to me. But I haven't really been that lucky, because when I book a cruise 2 years in advance, usually by the time the cruise comes, the cruises are much more expensive. So it hasn't worked for me that way, but I know some people who it worked well for and they got some money back. If you like a specific cruise line, it's good to utilize their loyalty program. And this is where you get the most perks and discounts, especially if you're on the cruise ship and you want to book your next cruise or your next destination. You actually can go to, in Norwegian for example, you go to the cruise next counter and they can actually sell you different points. For example, they will give you $2,000 of different points that you can either use on the cruise ship or towards your next cruise at the price of half off for only $1,000. So a lot of times you will purchase that $2,000 extra. You will pay only $1,000 for it, and then you can use it for your future cruises. I love that, because if you're booking a new cruise and you need to put that deposit down, we talked about $250 to $500 for a cruise for a cabin of 2. That's where you can apply your cruise dollars. So you can apply that $500. Sometimes they're on the promotions in March and November to apply $750 towards your future or new cruise that you're booking. So it pays off. It gives you additional discounts. They give you additional perks, and the loyalty programs are great. I personally love Norwegian. I've been building perks and points with them. Right now I'm at the platinum level, and hopefully at some point I will get to the sapphire level. But it gives you, of course, free laundry. It gives you dinners at specialty restaurants for free. It gives you additional bottle of wine and champagne in your cruise cabin. So it gives you those perks that I love, and I love to build up on that. and get additional tours and art auctions. You can get free art and some other things. So it works well if you like to stick to the same cruise line and earn points and be part of their programs, so you can take full advantage of it, especially the discounts that they offer to the members. If you've never cruised before, you should definitely read the cruise reviews, compare prices, go to different websites, and do your cruise shopping. Because same destinations could be very different prices from different cruise lines, but you want to have good quality cruise, right? You don't want to be stuck on the cruise ship where you hate everything, you hate the cabin, maybe you don't like the food, or their entertainment really sucks. So you want to look for reviews from people who really have been on those cruises. And you can of course come visit my channel, because I talk about Norwegian Cruise Line and the cruises I've been on, the different cruise ships, things we do, the ports, and how the services are. So you can definitely watch my channel for any cruises that I've been on, because it will give you an idea of how this cruise ship compares to others. And maybe you can also read reviews from people who go on royal and celebrity cruises, because there is a lot of information out there and people constantly talk about different cruise lines and how they compare. When you're looking for a cruise, definitely check out the websites of each cruise line that you're looking at and comparing, because the cruise lines will give you different discounts and perks shown on the first page. It will be probably the 70% off, 100% off, or like maybe free sailing for children for the third or fourth guest, or additional perks like free Wi-Fi, maybe some credit towards excursions, and any additional benefits. So look for those promotions, because that's how you're going to save money. And in addition, they will tell you also if there are any additional discounts on the cruises that they're offering at that time, at that moment, the specific cruises that they're trying to sell, especially if it is a last minute cruise that you're booking. So compare, and this is how you're going to save. If you're not a frequent traveler and maybe not a frequent cruiser and you would like to protect your investment, you should definitely look into the travel insurance. The cruise lines will offer you the travel insurance, and the 100% will be protected if you change your mind right before the cruise. Let's say you make the final payment that is usually 4 months before the cruise, and now it's $5,000 or $10,000 that you just paid, and you're worried, what if something changes? What if you have a medical emergency? What if you have to cancel a cruise because you lost your job or anything like that? In that case, that time period before the cruise, if something changes and the cruise has to be canceled and you want to get your money back, this is where the travel insurance will kick in and help you out. I have a whole video about the travel insurance with Norwegian. I'm going to leave a link to that video in the description below, so check it out. It has everything broken down, when you need to buy the travel insurance, what kind of travel insurance is best for you, because everybody is facing different circumstances or different decisions. Definitely check out my video. It might be very helpful for you next time when you're booking a cruise and deciding whether or not to buy the travel insurance. I usually do not get the travel insurance beforehand, because I know no matter what, I'm gonna go on that cruise, or at least I'm extremely optimistic about it and hope that nothing ever happens. But then when I'm actually getting on the cruise, you can purchase the travel insurance last minute just to cover you for that week of the cruise itself. And this is the time when the NCL that sells me the insurance will protect me for any kind of medical expenses, for any kind of cancellations or any troubles that the cruise ship might have at sea. That insurance is usually much cheaper just to insure your trip itself, your cruise, for that 1 week, maybe 10 days, rather than the insurance that you're purchasing before your cruise begins. That is where it can cost you in the range of $400 or $500, or actually 10% of your cruise fare, to pay for the insurance, to make sure that if you have any circumstances where you have to cancel the cruise before it begins, this is where they will charge you the most, right before the cruise. But during the cruise, it's not going to be that expensive, and it's worthwhile to buy that insurance. My next tip is pack light, especially if you're flying overseas. Not only the airports nowadays are stricter as far as the rules of what kind of carry-on bags you can bring with you, what's the weight, how many bags you check in, how much it costs. It can be extremely costly and expensive. And if you're in Europe and the flights are delayed, or you have a very small window to transfer your flights, especially if you have to make 1 or 2 stops to get to your cruise. A lot of times the bags can be delayed or late, and you will be without any of your clothes and any of your things. So it's always pays back if you can plan ahead. The next video that I'm going to make is about packing light, how to pack light for the cruise, what are the best tips. So definitely stay tuned, subscribe to my channel so you can actually watch this video when it comes out next week. But I'm going to talk about it. What's the best way and what are those tips? How to pack light, how not to bring a lot of stuff, how to pack as little as possible so you still have all of your necessities and you don't have to check in any bags. Most of those long-haul flights and international flights allow you to bring a lot of bags on the plane, and they don't really pay attention to the weight of your bags. You can check in bags for free. But if you're in Europe and you have to transfer from one airline to another, and usually it is transferring to a smaller airline, they will have new restrictions and you will have to pay much more money for those extra bags or even your carry-on bags. In Europe, the last couple of years, it's been so strict. Not only the weight is very limited to 7 to 10 kilograms to bring the carry-on bag on wheels, in addition to your personal item that can be a backpack or a purse, but they also charge a lot of money for the checked-in bags, and each flight will charge you for that bag. It's not only costly, it can be also a lot of headache for you to deal with bags and to worry how these bags are going to make to my cruise and on time. It's always advised to get to your cruise early. So if it is a short flight and you're pretty much making it to the cruise the same day, if you're going to the Caribbean or to Alaska cruise, but what if you're flying to Europe or South America or maybe to Asia? You definitely have to not only fly for 10 plus hours, 20 hours at a time, plus you have to arrive 1 or 2 days early to make sure you don't miss your cruise ship. So in that case, you definitely want to travel light and not bring a lot of stuff with you. When it comes to the things that you need to bring on the cruise ship, check for the restrictions for that cruise line. Sometimes they're not allowing to bring certain things on the cruise, but definitely bring different toiletries because you might have the shampoo but not the conditioner. You might have only liquid soap and not the bar soap if that's what you like. If you forgot something, maybe it's the shaving cream, toothpaste, and you want to get something last minute, especially maybe medications that you forgot to bring with you, something basic for fever, for flu. So if you go to the gift shop, you will be able to purchase it, but it's going to cost twice as much. And something basic like Q-tips, toothpaste will be much more expensive than you're used to. So it's worthwhile to bring things with you. I have a great video about tiny travel accessories that you can bring with you on the cruise ship, on the plane, on your trip, that will not take a lot of space, but it's very functional. So I'm also going to leave a link to that video in the description below. So definitely take advantage of the video. Pack the small travel essentials, bring it with you on the cruise, on your next travel, on your long flight, because they're very much needed and it's great to have them at all times. If you're going on the cruise somewhere far away and you actually are purchasing airfare through the cruise line via the bundle, and they can sometimes also offer you different hotel and reservations and also transportation to the port, to the hotel, but it pays back and it's always on the budget to do things yourself. So it's good to go to like booking.com or Expedia to get a hotel. You can pre-book the taxi from the airport to the port or to the hotel if you're staying over there. It's definitely worthwhile to shop around. This is how you're going to save the most money. Because if you're making those reservations through your cruise agent or through the cruise line, they will charge a lot more money. They will also charge you a lot of money for the excursions. Excursions can be extremely expensive on the cruise line. If you arrive to the port that is walkable and you can easily get only those hop-on, hop-off buses for the tours, it will only cost you maybe $30 or $50. You can tour the city yourself by walking. A lot of those small towns in Europe are very easy to get to, especially if the port is right there, but sometimes some ports are pretty far away. So if the drive is 1 hour or 45 minutes or maybe 2-hour drive from the port to the destination, that beautiful city you would like to tour, then it's worthwhile to spend money with the cruise line and get them to take you there. Because if there's any delay, if you're booking through a third party, the cruise ship is not going to wait for you. But if you're booking the excursion through the cruise ship, even if something breaks down, last year we went to San Marino and one of the buses from the cruise ship was super late because it broke down and everybody had to wait for that bus. So, but if you were doing it through a third party, nobody is going to wait for you and you're going to miss your cruise ship. So you definitely have to do a lot of research about every port that you're going to visit when you're booking your shore excursions. So if the port is very close to town, you can do it on your own. You can also purchase tours right there. You will have different vendors and different kiosks that will provide tours. They will take you places and they will even bring you back to the cruise ship. You will have hop-on, hop-off buses right there at the port that you can take. Or you can plan things online via Viator and different websites to book a different excursion and tour. But if the port is far away and it's over an hour drive to that destination, it's worthwhile to purchase the excursion through the cruise ship to make sure that you're not late. If your budget is tight and the excursions might be extremely expensive for that port, maybe you should skip it altogether and just enjoy your time by the pool or at the spa on the cruise ship. Let's talk about the cabins. The most inexpensive cabins will be inside cabins or maybe solo cabins if you're traveling by yourself. And a lot of cruise lines offer it nowadays. The other one will be the window cabin or something that will be with obstructed window view. For last minute cruises, those will be the cabins that will be on sale. So definitely look out for those deals, especially if you want it to be budget friendly. If you get motion sick, the middle of the cruise ship will be your best option, although you will have to pay a little bit extra for it. If you don't mind the older cruise ships and a little bit smaller, you will also pay better prices for those cabins. It will be more budget friendly versus the newest ships, and the biggest ships will have much more expensive rooms. Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope this information was interesting and useful and you can use my tips on your future cruises. Don't forget to like this video, subscribe to my channel, click on that notification button if you wanted to see the future videos I'm going to make about cruises. Leave me comments and questions below and I will see you soon. Happy cruising!